Toward the tail end of the 5-year conflict at Harvest, the events involving the UNSC Spirit of Fire and her crew offered eerie clues to what the war would hold for humanity, and a solitary hope for victory which would only become apparent decades later. The ship would find its way to one of the Foreigner's astonishing shield worlds, teeming with impossibly powerful technology, and hiding a dark secret. On February the 4th, 2531, the UNSC Spirit of Fire, commanded by Captain James Cutter, began military operations on the besieged colony of Harvest. This immense support vessel deployed troops and materiel to the surface, overwhelming the Covenant's last remaining groundside forces while the war raged on in other parts of human space. When the ship's crew discovered that the Covenant had been excavating an ancient alien facility that predated humanity's occupation of this world, they immediately sent a team to the site, including leading xenobiologist Professor Ellen Anders. The team discovered a holographic map room pointing to the human colony of Arcadia. The Covenant, for reasons that remained a mystery, was already en route to the location. Spirit of Fire followed closely behind. Upon arrival, the Spirit's Sergeant John Forge fought alongside Spartans originally deployed by the UNSC to defend the planet. Their efforts forced back the Covenant invasion, buying time to investigate the aliens' presence on this colony. The Covenant had discovered something in Foreigner ruins deep in Arcadia's jungles, but before the Spirit's crew could determine their target, their enemies abducted Professor Anders from the artifact site and fled into slipspace, with the Spirit of Fire in pursuit. The chase took them all the way to a remote, artificial world unlike anything humanity had ever seen. A shield world, one of the Foreigners' unbelievable creations built during their war with the Flood. On the surface of this strange new world, the Spirit's crew encountered this alien parasite. The Flood had somehow escaped its containment on the installation. After narrowly surviving the outbreak, Cutter dispatched forces to take Anders back. The Covenant's plan now became clear. The Foreigners had kept an entire fleet of powerful warships within this particular construct, ready to be deployed at the command of a Reclaimer, a title that Anders now discovered had been bequeathed to humans by the Ancients. When Anders was forced by the Covenant to activate this fleet, Spirit's crew realized that they needed to destroy the Shield World, taking the Covenant, the Flood, and the Foreigner fleet with it. In order to do this, the Spirit would have to relinquish her slipspace drive, converting it into a bomb. Sacrificing his own life, Sergeant Forge activated the drive, causing a stellar collapse of the artificial star at the world's center and completely obliterating it. Spirit of Fire narrowly escaped the destruction, but the ship was now stranded, forced to crawl at sublight speeds back to human-occupied space. Although the Spirit of Fire would be declared by the UNSC lost with all hands on February the 10th, 2534, the remaining crew remained in cryo-storage as the ship began the long journey back home. The story of the Spirit of Fire was not yet finished. In the first few years of the war, the Covenant had already discovered over 24 human colonies and destroyed them without warning or mercy. Before the UNSC understood the severity of this new threat, entire worlds had blinked out of existence. Using a procedure the Covenant referred to as cleansing, the immense alien fleets would unleash superheated plasma across a planet to scour it clean of human life. Sections of the world's surface would be entirely melted, leaving a lifeless, vitrified substance, leading the humans to refer to this procedure as glassing. The Covenant dominated space combat. They possessed naval and weapons technology that greatly surpassed that of humankind. Spartans, however, offered a glimmer of hope for the UNSC. Humanity's super soldiers were not only a match for the Covenant's formidable Sangheli-led military on the ground, but also in space, as they could infiltrate and execute missions within enemy vessels, in rare cases, even taking down entire warships and fleets with only a handful of operatives. Despite the victories Spartans had won against the Covenant, little overall could be done to stem the swelling tide of destruction. This period would come to be called the Massacre of the Outer Colonies, and would see the ruin of dozens of human worlds. By 2535, most of the outer colonies were charred husks, laid waste in short, brutal engagements. Evacuation craft that managed to escape were often hunted down and destroyed before fleeing the system. Only on occasion would pockets of refugees survive to reach the relative safety of another colony. A handful of human worlds managed to prepare defences in advance, supported by the UNSC fleets and detachments of troops, but even in those scenarios, the Covenant rarely needed to take the fight to the ground, as their naval strength usually subdued the worlds without difficulty. The UNSC eventually recognised that the Covenant were often led to human worlds by data retrieved from colonies which they had already attacked. Navigation databases recovered from human vessels had also offered the Covenant slipspace routes to other colonies, drawing the enemy to new prey. To prevent this, in the early years of the war, Admiral Preston Cole submitted a universal standing order commonly referred to as the Cole Protocol. This order dictated procedures for ships departing from any engagement with Covenant forces. Navigational databases had to be destroyed, all onboard AIs had to be purged, and ships could only leave on random course headings. This was to ensure that the Covenant could not discover the location of Earth or any remaining inner colonies. Thanks for watching, commenting, liking and subscribing. I just want to give a quick shout out to my patrons and YouTube members: Spartan10148, my Metarch, Dylan, Falcon X003, Kenwood, Irrefutable Justice, Leon, Neek and Ramiz, my monitors, Alvin, Andrew, Brand, Brian, Cameron, Chris, Darian, Devon, Flaming Halo, Greenblood, Kyle, Legions Lost, Michael, Prophet Bear, Spartan and Wolf, my sub-monitors, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, my diligent enforcers, and all the other awesome people that have jumped aboard to support the channel over at Patreon. Another shout out to Todd Morrison, my transcendent YouTube member, and just one quick reminder to support us on all major social media channels including Discord. Much love from 00. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.